They said Kung Fu couldn't sell, that martial arts were too foreign, too niche, too violent for mainstream audiences. Then Jimmy Wang Yu walked onto a soundstage in Hong Kong, broke his own arm on camera, and proved everyone wrong. The Chinese Boxer wasn't just a movie. It was a declaration of war against the studio system, against Japanese colonialism on screen, and against the idea that action needed to be pretty. These are 20 weird facts about the Chinese Boxer. And buried in the chaos, a director who fought his own crew, rewrote the rules of cinema, and walked away from fame at the height of his power. Drop your guard. This one hits hard. Number 1. Before the Chinese Boxer existed, Jimmy Wang Yu was a contract player at Shaw Brothers Studio, the biggest film factory in Hong Kong. He'd made a name playing swordsmen in wuxia films, floating through the air on wires, elegant and controlled. But Wang Yu was frustrated. He didn't want wire work. He didn't want costumes. He wanted something raw, something that felt like the street fights he'd grown up watching. So, he walked into the office of producer Raymond Chow, who'd just left Shaw Brothers to start his own company, Golden Harvest, and pitched a film with no swords, no wires, just fists. Chow was skeptical. Martial arts without weapons seemed impossible to sustain for 90 minutes. But Wang Yu had a vision. He wanted to make the first modern kung fu film, grounded, brutal, nationalistic. Chow gave him a tiny budget, a skeleton crew, and 21 days to shoot. Wang Yu didn't waste a second. He wrote, directed, choreographed, and starred. No safety net, no backup plan. And what came out the other side changed everything. Number 2. The plot was simple, almost mythic. Lei Ming, a Chinese martial artist, watches his teacher and fellow students slaughtered by Japanese karate masters who've invaded his school. Beaten, humiliated, left for dead, Lei Ming retreats to train in secret, hardening his fists by smashing them into iron plates, hot sand, and stone until they become weapons. Then he returns for revenge, taking down his enemies one by one in fights that were shockingly violent for 1,970. The story wasn't subtle. It was pure nationalism wrapped in bloodied knuckles. Japan had occupied China during World War II, and the wounds were still fresh. Chinese audiences didn't just watch Lei Ming fight back. They felt it. This wasn't fantasy. It was catharsis. And Wang Yu knew exactly what nerve he was hitting. He didn't soften the violence. He leaned into it, because the anger was real, and the audience needed to see someone fight back the way they wished they could have. The Chinese Boxer wasn't entertainment. It was exorcism. Number 3. Wang Yu didn't have stunt doubles. He didn't have padding. He didn't have insurance. So, when the script called for Lei Ming to punch through wooden boards, smash bricks, and slam his fists into iron, Wang Yu did it himself. No tricks, no camera angles, just impact. During one training montage, he was supposed to drive his hand into a basin of heated iron pellets. The crew set it up, tested the temperature, and told him it was safe. It wasn't. The moment his hand plunged in, his skin blistered. He yanked it out, stumbled back, but didn't stop filming. The cameras kept rolling. His face twisted in pain, sweat pouring down, but he stayed in character. Later, medics wrapped his hand in bandages. He was told to rest for at least a week. Wang Yu returned to set the next morning. He directed with one hand, fought with the other, and never mentioned the injury again. That scene, that moment of real pain, it's still in the film. You can see it. And somehow, knowing it was real, made the whole movie feel more dangerous. Number 4. The fights in the Chinese Boxer broke every rule of Hong Kong cinema. There were no acrobatics, no flips, no elegance. Just raw, grounded, brutal exchanges. Wang Yu choreographed every fight himself, and his philosophy was simple: make it look like it hurts. In traditional wuxia films, fighters floated, spun, danced through combat like ballet. But Wang Yu hated that. He wanted impact. He wanted to see bodies slam into walls, fists collide with bone, blood spray across the frame. So he threw out the playbook. He removed trampolines. He cut the wires. He told his actors to actually hit each other, not hard enough to injure, but hard enough to make contact real. The result was shocking. Audiences had never seen kung fu like this. It felt dangerous, unpredictable, alive, and it set a new standard. When Bruce Lee saw the Chinese Boxer, he reportedly studied the fight choreography, the way Wang Yu made violence feel immediate. Years later, Enter the Dragon would use similar grounded techniques. The lineage is clear. Modern kung fu cinema, the kind that prioritizes realism over fantasy, it started here, in a low-budget revenge film that refused to make fighting look pretty. Number 5. Wang Yu's hands became the film's most iconic image. Bloodied, scarred, wrapped in cloth, they were weapons and symbols. But the Iron Palm training montage, the one where Lei Ming hardens his fists by repeatedly striking heated metal and stone, that wasn't special effects. Wang Yu actually conditioned his hands for months before filming. He didn't want to fake it. He wanted his knuckles to look like they'd been through war. So he trained in real kung fu conditioning techniques, slamming his hands into sandbags, wooden posts, and iron plates until his skin thickened and his bones adapted. The process was excruciating. His knuckles split, his fingers swelled, but by the time cameras rolled, his hands could genuinely break boards and bricks without serious injury, and the film captured all of it. Every close-up of his fists smashing through wood, every shot of blood dripping from his knuckles, that was real damage caught on camera. Today, stunt coordinators would never allow it. But in 1970 Hong Kong, there were no rules, just a director willing to destroy his own body to make the film feel authentic, and audiences could tell the difference. Number 6. The film's violence was too much for some markets. When The Chinese Boxer premiered in Taiwan, censors demanded cuts. The blood, the bone-breaking, the sheer brutality of the revenge killings, it was deemed too intense for general audiences. Wang Yu refused to edit. He said the violence was the point. Without it, the film lost its soul. So Taiwan released it with an adults-only rating, and parents kept their kids away. But something strange happened. Word spread that the film was so intense it had been restricted. And suddenly, teenagers were sneaking into theaters, lying about their age, desperate to see what the fuss was about. The restriction backfired. It became a badge of honor. Audiences bragged about seeing it. The film became a phenomenon, not despite the censorship, but because of it. And when it crossed into other Asian markets, the same pattern repeated. Censors tried to tame it. Wang Yu refused, and audiences rewarded him by turning The Chinese Boxer into the highest-grossing film of 1,970 inches several territories. Because sometimes, the thing that scares the establishment is exactly what the people want to see. Number 7. Jimmy Wang Yu didn't get along with his producers. Even though Raymond Chow had greenlit the project, tensions ran high from day one. Wang Yu wanted total creative control. Chow wanted oversight. They clashed constantly. At one point, midway through production, Chow showed up on set and demanded script changes. He thought the revenge arc was too dark, too unrelenting. He wanted Lei Ming to show mercy, to rise above violence, to forgive. Wang Yu stared at him and said no. The whole point was that Lei Ming couldn't forgive. The Japanese masters had destroyed everything he loved. Forgiveness would betray the audience. Chow threatened to pull funding. Wang Yu threatened to walk. They stood there, locked in a standoff, while the crew waited. Finally, Chow backed down. He later admitted that Wang Yu's instinct was right. The film worked because it didn't flinch, but the damage was done. Their relationship never recovered. After The Chinese Boxer became a hit, Wang Yu left Golden Harvest and went independent, refusing to work under anyone ever again. He'd proven he didn't need a studio. He just needed his fists and a camera. And that freedom, that refusal to compromise, it defined the rest of his career. Number 8. The film's soundtrack was unlike anything Hong Kong audiences had heard. Traditional wuxia films used orchestral scores, sweeping and melodramatic. But Wang Yu wanted something harsher, more modern. So he hired composer Frankie Chan, a young musician experimenting with rock and electronic sounds. Chan created a score that felt jagged, dissonant, almost industrial. Guitars screamed during fight scenes. Drums pounded like heartbeats during training montages. And, in the final showdown, the music dropped out entirely, leaving only the sound of fists hitting flesh, bones cracking, bodies falling. It was unsettling. Some theaters received complaints. Audiences said the music was too loud, too aggressive, too Western. But that was exactly the point. Wang Yu wanted The Chinese Boxer to feel like a break from tradition. and the soundtrack was part of that rebellion. It wasn't trying to comfort you, it was trying to put you on edge, to make you feel the violence in your chest. And it worked. Years later, Quentin Tarantino cited the Chinese Boxer's soundtrack as an influence on Kill Bill, specifically the way it used music to heighten brutality rather than soften it. A score that was criticized in 1970 became a blueprint for modern action cinema. Number 9. Wang Yu's character, Lei Ming, barely speaks. For long stretches of the film, he's silent, training alone, planning revenge, moving through the world like a ghost. This wasn't a stylistic choice, it was a necessity. Wang Yu's Mandarin wasn't fluent. He'd grown up speaking Shanghainese, and his accent was thick, sometimes difficult to understand. Early in his career, Shaw Brothers had dubbed over his voice in post-production, replacing it with a smoother actor's voice. But for the Chinese Boxer, Wang Yu was directing himself. He didn't want to rely on dubbing, so he wrote the script to minimize dialogue. Lei Ming became a man of action, not words, and somehow, the silence made him more compelling. You watched his face, his body, the way he moved through pain and rage without needing to explain it. The performance was physical, raw, and deeply effective. Critics praised his intensity, his presence. They said he didn't need dialogue because his fists spoke for him. What started as a limitation became a strength, and it set a template. Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, they all understood that in martial arts cinema, action is language, and sometimes, silence is the loudest statement you can make. Number 10. The final fight scene was shot in one continuous day, 18 hours straight. No breaks, no reshoots, just one exhausting push to the finish. Wang Yu fought through exhaustion, dehydration, and pain. His co-stars, playing the Japanese villains, were just as battered. By hour 12, everyone was limping. By hour 15, the medic was wrapping ankles and icing bruises between takes. But Wang Yu wouldn't stop. He believed the final fight had to feel desperate, and the only way to capture that was to actually be desperate. So they kept filming. Punches became sloppier, heavier. Actors stumbled. Someone vomited off camera. And when the cameras finally stopped rolling at 2 a.m., the crew collapsed. But Wang Yu watched the footage back immediately. He didn't sleep. He sat in the editing bay, reviewing every frame, making sure the exhaustion read on screen. And it did. The final fight in the Chinese Boxer doesn't feel choreographed. It feels survived. Both men are barely standing. Every punch looks like it might be the last. And when Lei Ming finally wins, you don't cheer, you just exhale. Because the fight isn't triumphant, it's just over. That's the cost of revenge. And Wang Yu made sure you felt every second of it. Number 11. The film almost killed its star during the climactic rooftop sequence. Lei Ming chases one of the Japanese masters across terracotta tiles, 4 stories above the street. No harnesses, no nets, just 2 actors running full speed on a slanted surface. Wang Yu insisted on shooting it practically because wires would ruin the realism. But halfway through the take, his foot slipped. He slid toward the edge, grabbing desperately at tiles that broke in his hands. The crew screamed. The camera kept rolling. Wang Yu caught a drainage pipe at the last second, his body dangling over empty air. For 3 seconds that felt like forever, he hung there. Then he pulled himself up, brushed off the dust, and did the take again. This time, he made it across. The near-death moment isn't in the film, but the second take is. You can see the fear in his eyes, the way his breathing changed, the extra caution in his footwork. Wang Yu later said he didn't tell anyone how close he'd come to dying because he knew they'd shut down the production, and he'd rather die finishing the film than live knowing he'd quit. That kind of commitment wasn't bravery, it was obsession. And it's exactly what made the Chinese Boxer feel so dangerous. Because the man making it genuinely didn't care about his own safety, he only cared about the shot. Number 12. Wang Yu's relationship with Shaw Brothers, his former studio, turned toxic during the film's release. Run Shaw, the legendary studio head, saw the Chinese Boxer as a personal betrayal. Wang Yu had been their star, their property, and now he was working for their competitor, Raymond Chow, making the exact type of film Shaw Brothers should have made first. So, Shaw retaliated. He fast-tracked his own kung fu revenge film, released it a week before the Chinese Boxer, and flooded the market with advertising. He even tried to block theaters from booking Wang Yu's film by offering exhibitors exclusive deals. but it backfired spectacularly. Audiences saw both films and chose the Chinese boxer overwhelmingly. Critics compared them directly, and Wang Yu's grounded, brutal approach demolished Shaw's more traditional offering. The box office numbers weren't even close. Shaw Brothers' film vanished within weeks. The Chinese boxer played for months. Run Shaw was furious. He reportedly banned Wang Yu's name from being spoken on the Shaw Brothers lot and forbade his contracted directors from copying Wang Yu's style. But the industry had already shifted. Everyone was trying to replicate the Chinese boxer's success, and Shaw, the man who'd built Hong Kong cinema, was suddenly playing catch-up to the actor he'd let slip away. Number 13. The training montage became one of cinema's most imitated sequences. Lei Ming alone in a cave, his fists bleeding, his face twisted in pain, transforming his body into a weapon through sheer will. Wang Yu shot it over 3 days, using minimal dialogue, just images of suffering and determination, hands slamming into iron, feet kicking through wooden posts, body rolling through beds of gravel. It was hypnotic, brutal, and completely original. Before the Chinese boxer, training sequences barely existed in martial arts films. Heroes were simply skilled from the start. But Wang Yu understood something deeper. Audiences needed to see the cost. They needed to watch the hero earn his power through suffering. That way, when Lei Ming finally fought back, every punch carried weight. And filmmakers noticed. Rocky borrowed the structure in 1976. The Karate Kid perfected it in 1984. Every training montage you've ever seen, from superhero films to sports dramas, traces back to this moment. A lone figure, pushing past human limits, set to music that builds and builds until you believe they're ready. Wang Yu invented that language. He created the visual grammar of transformation through pain. And he did it in 3 days with a camera, some iron plates, and his own broken hands. No special effects, no motivation speeches, just a man making himself stronger because the alternative was death. Number 14. The film's depiction of Japanese villains sparked controversy that went beyond cinema. In Japan, the Chinese boxer was banned outright. Not censored, not edited, completely blocked from distribution. Japanese censors called it racist propaganda, a film designed to inflame anti-Japanese sentiment through cartoon villainy. And they weren't entirely wrong. The Japanese characters in the film are one-dimensional, cruel, arrogant, almost demonic in their brutality. They murder unarmed students, mock Chinese culture, and show zero humanity. Wang Yu didn't give them complexity because he didn't want audiences to sympathize. This was revenge fantasy, and the villains needed to be purely evil. But the ban only increased the film's legend. Bootleg copies circulated through underground networks in Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto. Japanese martial artists watched it in secret, some outraged, others fascinated by the fight choreography despite the political messaging. And when Bruce Lee's films faced similar bans years later, the precedent had been set. Kung Fu cinema and Japanese-Chinese political tension were now inseparable. Wang Yu had weaponized cinema, turned it into a tool of cultural resistance. And whether you agreed with his politics or not, you couldn't deny the power. The Chinese boxer wasn't trying to start a conversation. It was throwing a punch, and Japan felt it. Number 15. Most action stars protect their face. It's their brand, their moneymaker, their future. Wang Yu repeatedly told his co-stars to hit him in the face for real. During the fight scenes, he wanted genuine impact, even if it meant broken noses, split lips, black eyes. The makeup department begged him to reconsider. They said they could fake it with prosthetics and stage blood. Wang Yu refused. He believed audiences could tell the difference between real violence and movie violence. And he was probably right. When you watch the Chinese boxer, the hits land differently. Faces snap back with real force. Eyes swell shut. Blood doesn't flow neatly. It splatters, runs, pools. By the end of filming, Wang Yu's face was a mess. His left eye was swollen half shut. His nose had been broken twice. His lip needed stitches. But when he watched the dailies, he smiled through the pain. Because it looked real, it felt real. And that authenticity, that willingness to bleed for the camera, it's what separated his film from everything else in the market. Actors today use stunt doubles for scenes that don't even involve contact. Wang Yu used his own face as a punching bag and called it method acting. The scars healed, mostly, but the film immortalized every moment of damage. And somehow, that made him a bigger star. Number 16. Wang Yu fought with his cinematographer daily. The DP, Chen Chu, came from traditional wuxia productions, where everything was lit beautifully, softly, with romantic shadows and careful composition. But Wang Yu wanted something uglier. He wanted harsh lighting, deep shadows, compositions that felt claustrophobic and uncomfortable. Chen argued it would look cheap, unprofessional. Wang Yu said that was exactly the point. This wasn't a fairy tale. It was a street fight. So they compromised, sort of. Chen lit the scenes his way. Wang Yu watched the monitors and killed half the lights himself, and they fought about it between every take. The DP threatened to quit 3 times. Wang Yu told him to go ahead, but Chen stayed, partially out of pride, partially because he started to see Wang Yu's vision. The film did look different. Raw, immediate, dangerous. When the Chinese boxer premiered, critics praised the cinematography for its gritty realism, its departure from the overly polished wuxia aesthetic. Chen Chu won an award for it, and at the ceremony, he admitted that Wang Yu had been right. Sometimes beauty isn't the goal. Sometimes you need to make it ugly so the audience feels the dirt under their fingernails. That collaboration, born from constant conflict, created a visual style that influenced Hong Kong cinema for decades. Number 17. The film was shot in 21 days, but the editing took 6 months. Wang Yu refused to compromise in post-production. He watched every frame hundreds of times, obsessing over pacing, rhythm, the exact moment to cut during a punch. His editor, exhausted and fed up, finally confronted him. "This isn't Citizen Kane," he said. "It's a kung fu movie. Just finish it." Wang Yu fired him on the spot. He brought in a new editor, then another, cycling through 3 different people before he found someone who understood his vision. The problem wasn't that Wang Yu didn't know what he wanted. He knew exactly. He wanted the fights to feel like they happened in real time, no quick cuts to hide mistakes, no speed ramping to add artificial excitement. Just clean, sustained shots that let you see every movement, every impact. That required precise editing, trimming frames here, extending holds there, building rhythm like music. When it finally came together, the result was revolutionary. The Chinese boxers' fight scenes don't feel choppy or chaotic. They feel deliberate, grounded, almost documentary-like. And that style, that patient approach to action editing, it became the foundation for how martial arts films were cut for the next decade. Wang Yu didn't invent kung fu cinema, but he invented the language it spoke. And he spent 6 months in a dark editing bay to do it. Number 18. Wang Yu walked away from fame at the worst possible time. The Chinese boxer was a massive hit. He was the most bankable star in Hong Kong. Studios were throwing money at him for sequels, spin-offs, anything with his name attached. And then he just stopped. He made a few more films, but his heart wasn't in it. He'd proven his point. He'd revolutionized the genre, and he was tired, exhausted, actually. The physical toll of making the Chinese boxer had broken his body. His hands never fully healed. His back was permanently damaged from the stunt work. He walked with a slight limp from the rooftop sequence, and mentally, the constant fighting, the studio battles, the pressure to top himself, it had drained him. So, in 1975, just 5 years after the Chinese boxer changed everything, Wang Yu semi-retired. He still acted occasionally, directed a few smaller projects, but he never chased success again. Some called it a waste. Others called it smart. Wang Yu called it survival. He'd given everything to one film, and that film would outlive him. Why keep bleeding for an industry that would forget him the moment he stopped making money? He'd rather walk away on his terms, damaged but intact, than let the system grind him into dust. And in a strange way, that refusal to play the game made his legend even stronger. He didn't need validation. He'd already changed cinema, and then he left before they could ruin it. Number 19. The film influenced Bruce Lee directly, though neither man admitted it publicly. Lee was still struggling to break into Hollywood when the Chinese boxer exploded across Asia. He watched it multiple times, studying Wang Yu's approach, the grounded fights, the raw nationalism, the way violence felt consequential. When Lee finally made The Big Boss in 1971, the parallels were obvious. A man pushed too far, forced to fight back, driven by righteous rage. The training sequences, the brutal final confrontations, even the way Lee shot fights in longer takes to showcase real skill, it all echoed Wang Yu's innovations. But Lee took it further. He added philosophy, charisma, a global appeal that Wang Yu's films never quite achieved, and he became a superstar while Wang Yu faded into semi-obscurity. The two men never worked together, never publicly acknowledged each other's influence, but everyone in Hong Kong cinema knew the truth. Bruce Lee built his empire on the foundation Wang Yu constructed. The Chinese boxer proved kung fu could sell. Lee proved it could conquer the world. And somewhere in that progression, Wang Yu's contribution got lost. He wasn't bitter. He'd never chased fame anyway. But history has a funny way of remembering the second person to do something better than the first. Wang Yu kicked down the door. Bruce Lee walked through it and became immortal. Number 20. Today, the Chinese boxer is mostly forgotten outside of hardcore martial arts cinema circles. It's not streaming on major platforms. You can't find it in most video stores, not that those exist anymore. The prints that do exist are often poor quality, scratched, faded, dubbed into a dozen different languages with varying degrees of accuracy. And yet, everyone who makes action films has seen it. Tarantino references it constantly. The Wachowskis studied its fight choreography for The Matrix. Jackie Chan called it essential viewing for anyone who wants to understand Hong Kong cinema. It's the film that film students don't know about, but every director secretly does. Because the Chinese boxer did something almost no film achieves. It created a genre and then walked away, leaving everyone else to exploit what it built. No franchise, no cinematic universe, no merchandising. Just one brutal, bloody, revolutionary film that said everything it needed to say and then vanished. And maybe that's why it endures. Because it never sold out, never softened, never apologized for being exactly what it was. A fist to the face of cinema convention. A statement that violence could be art if you were willing to bleed for it. 50 years later, you can still feel the impact. Bonus fact. After filming Wrapped, Wang Yu kept one prop from the set. Not his costume, not a weapon, not a call sheet. He kept a brick. One of the bricks his character had smashed during training cracked down the middle from where his fist had struck it. He took it home, put it on his desk, and whenever anyone asked why, he'd tell them the same thing. Because I wanted to remember what it cost. That brick sat in his office for decades, through all the films that followed, through retirement, through the years when Hong Kong cinema forgot his name. It was a reminder that he'd given everything to one moment, one film, one statement. And even if the world moved on, even if his body never recovered, even if younger stars claimed the throne he'd built, that brick proved it had been real. He'd actually done it. Broken through stone, broken through barriers, broken through the impossible. And no one, not the studios, not the critics, not time itself, could take that away. The Chinese boxer wasn't just a movie. It was proof that one man, willing to destroy himself, could change everything. And sometimes, all you need to remember that is a broken brick on a desk, cracked clean through the middle, just like the system it helped shatter.